the die as cattle part because like they didn't die like gloriously in battle like they would say they did in like a funeral, but they died like in groups as cattle, just trying to storm a beach or something. So.
What Ms. Gates said about like where the origin is coming from, and you said like the rifles, that made me think that the soldiers on the battlefield are praying for an end to like this war and get out of the war, and their prayers are answered by someone shooting them from them. It's kind of morbid, but
No, that's another, yeah.
We should, just in the interest of time, what's the, is everybody clear on what the setting is for this first, the octet?
It's like a
Octave.
battlefield.
What?
They said like it was a battlefield, but I don't know if you said that.
And Theo said, kind of like World War I, it's mentioned in the question that, or in the little questions underneath the author.
Drawing down a flag.
Yeah.
Is it like a custom in World War I?
Did Wilfred Owen really die when he was 25? Am I doing the math right now? Mm-hmm. So he would have been during World War I.
He would have
Yes.
passed away just as before months.
Did he die as a cattle?
Hmm?
Did he
World
die as
War
a
I
cattle?
did,
Probably. 1919.
Yeah. So you guys, what passing bells for those who died as cattle? No passing bells, no morning bells, just the angry guns instead of prayers. And what are the shrill, diminutive choirs? Instead of the beautiful choirs back at home that would normally be providing a service, what are the choirs referred to there? Yes, that's, yeah, are you getting it
Well,
on?
no, yeah. I just want to add on to that. I think it's like ironical or ironic that they said like there's none of this, save the choir. So there is the choirs, but then he goes on to like explain that these choirs are actually just more of the same, and like it like kind of like keeps the whole moving and like adds drama and build up.
The choirs of wailing shells. Yeah, so saying like, here are these guys dying, and what sort of funeral, what sort of, moment are we giving to them? Nothing, because battle is continuing. It's the rapid rifles, stuttering of the rapid rifles, whatever it is, in place of prayers, and no beautiful morning bells, no beautiful choirs singing in their honor. It's more, shooting and wailing shells and good.
So moving on to the sestet.
Wait, can you go back, because you need to mark where the transition occurs, because now we're in a different place, right?
Yeah.
What's the shift word? Maybe you should ask, where's the new setting? Where do we go to now?
Where do you guys see the shift in this sonnet?
Wait, in setting? In what terms? Oh.
It's the same, it's like the repetition of a question, but the subject is different.
Yeah, so notice how both stanzas start with a question, and I think Sarah's right in saying that the second stanza that starts out with a new question kind of takes us out of the battlefield and into the new setting of the second part of the song.
But even before that,
Preamble of that is like, and Viewed is calling to them from sad shires, so the sad shires are where they're coming from, and they're being called to like leave there, and they're already sad because of who's already gone before them, or just like the area around them.
Yeah, so that's kind of like an introduction to this.
people's calling for them from sad shires. Say that again? How do you interpret that one?
Well, I think that like they're getting called and like taken away from their homes for going out into the war. Because the sad shires is like the comes, and then the sadness. I just thought like it's either sad. Like there's a few reasons it's sad. It's sad because we have to leave, is also sad because they know like, what's going on out there because of the other people that have already been going to the battlefield.
But I think the dual meaning kind of that we saw from it also is, bugles are calling for them from Southshires, and maybe not necessarily calling them away from war, but also calling them back home too, because there's people at home who are mourning, the youth who are out on the battlefield, and this line is kind of saying like, there are people who are at home in the Shire who are missing them, or who are grieving for their losses. Yeah.
I think it's reading to the losses, like what Linda said, and then the second stanza also has words that remind me of, you know, like flowers and candles, and with drawing down the lines, which is meant to be a custom, throw in a soldier man.
And when is the bugle played? So I think that's it, the transition word is shires. So we move from the battlefield where for all intents and purposes, no funeral, nothing is happening that marks. And then and bugles calling for them the dead. I don't think it's calling them to war, I think it's calling the dead home.
So now, from that shift, let's go to stanza 2. I see you home.
There's something I noticed, like with the rhyming scheme, it doesn't go with the like particular order because it goes, because like in the first stanza it was like Shakespearean, and then the second one it goes to Italian. With like the first stanza like this, it goes all eyes by all.
Yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to point that out.
How do you think the sound of that rhyme scheme, like shifting from Shakespeare and then to the Italian, the chart, Petrarchian? Yeah. How do you think that contributes to like the meaning of the poem as a whole? Why do you think we chose to use two different, kind of combine two different types of songs?
Does anyone have something to add about the sonnet? Or about the shift in rhyming scheme?
I think that shift in the language scheme kind of emphasizes the shift in the tone overall.
Is that it?
About just the second stanza.
Well, I think it's kind of more positive than the first stanza overall, because the first stanza is more like everything bad, but then it's like, you know, like they have girls that await them, and they kind of like have a glimmer in their eyes, and I don't really understand.
Yeah. Why don't we go over what's happening maybe? So someone will have a paraphrase, even just like a few lines. April, do you want to take a stab at it?
Well, it seems like, I don't know, the first stanza is kind of sad and depressed, but I think,
Hold on. Don't say sign the press, be more specific.
okay, it's more of it's about death and a little bit gloomy, but, then the second stanza, it seems kind of like, they're doing soldiers' funerals, and they're kind of letting go, and being friends behind them.
I mean, that's, okay, Sarah, do you want to add to that?
Come back to me.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a change in like tone because before they're talking about like harsh like the rattling and stuff like that, but now they're going towards like glimmers and tenderness, and so just those words alone can tell you that like they're talking about like the families back at home like remembering and having the funeral versus the no remembrance at all in the first stanza.
Okay, go back and say that again and use the language of the chapter.
Okay. So, hold on a second. It's very euphonious in the second stanza compared to the first stanza, which is cacophonous. And the euphoniousness is related to, you know, the fond memories that people would have of their sons who died and brothers and everything. And then the cacophonous would be like the short, you know, stabbing sounds. So, yeah.
Before Sarah talks, give her point, we're just to paraphrase to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page on this, for the second stanza. It's contrast with first stanza because it kind of brings the scene back to the home front versus the battlefield. And so, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this about the speaker. I think Sam mentioned earlier, it's not in first person, it's kind of third person. And so they're able to shift between like what's going on the battlefield and then what's going on the home front as well. So, but they also happen to have like really intimate knowledge of what it's like on both sides. So that also kind of gives us more insight into if maybe the speaker has experience or like knowledge of what it's like to be on either side.
Right, so what do we call that, remember, the third person speaker that knows?
Omniscient.
Third person omniscient. Also, another quick question going off what Chris said, what's the primary type of imagery in the first octave, in the octave?
Sarah.
Auditory.
Auditory imagery built by the cacophonous sounding words that take us into a cacophonous sounding situation, right? Gunshots, battle, and then we move into the second stanza with sad shires, which is the euphonious sounding, right? Sad shires.
It's like euphonious, but it's also like definitely gloomy.
Yeah, nothing happy about a sad shire, but it's still a pleasant sounding word. And then what's the type of imagery that's happening in the sestet?
Do you like, what imagery do you pick up?
What I see is sort of like when I read this, I thought more of like the soldiers, just sort of like I saw it as them dying, like the drawing down of blinds is like people that have gone away, they've passed away, and like the holy glimmers of goodbye, which gives like the image is like saying goodbye, but then also like saying goodbye like they died and now the last glimmer is like left their eyes.
And like, it's not in the hands, it's only in the eyes.
Who died? That's not right. No, who died? Who died and when?
The soldiers.
Did they die? Are they dead? And did they die? When did they die? The sestet or the octave?
They died before.
They died in the octave. And so who are you talking? Who are you referring to in the sestet?
Well, it's back home, but I didn't see that when I read that. I thought it was more like them trying to imagine it.
Pardon the interruption. Period 1 doesn't end until 9:40.